First, to how ties between India and China have been bittersweet over the last few decades, to say the least. They've seen the share of ups and downs. The 73-day-long standoff in Doklam had resulted in a hike in tensions, and over the last few weeks there have been several twists and turns that have impacted the relations between India and China. The 73-day-long standoff in Doklam in August 2017 increased tensions on both sides, but the dawn of the new year seems to have brought with it the dawn of a new chapter in Sino-India ties. The two countries are attempting to resolve differences diplomatically, but perhaps it is the time to get creative and try another approach, or one of soft diplomacy. People-to-people contact between the countries could be a good place to start. Bollywood movies are a big hit in China over the last 1 year. Multiple Hindi movies have done brisk business there. But one area that remains unexplored is the educational system. It could serve to be a fresh channel to increase contact between the two countries. Indian students are increasingly picking Chinese universities over the traditional American or British ones. In 2016, in fact, 18,000 Indian students were studying in China, but the figures are not the same, vice versa. China is yet to see India as an emerging education market. Here's one way to change that: through business schools in India. Several B schools are ranked among the top 100 worldwide and are highly competitive, both in terms of cost and quality. The demand for high-end management talent is also very high in India, considering the services sector makes up for as much as 60% of the country's economy. With a greater presence of Chinese firms in India, there will be increasing demand for Chinese management graduates who are versed in the Indian market. This will create a market for Indian business schools to enroll Chinese students. These graduates can be assimilated into the Indian economy itself, or they can go back to their home country with a fresh perspective on India. In the long run, this could influence China's policy making toward India. Increased student exchanges between the two countries is not the only solution, and issues between the two countries cannot be resolved overnight. But newer opportunities like these can be explored to create positive engagement between India and China. Let's go straight across now to our correspondent in Beijing, Gaurav Sharma, who's joining us on the broadcast for more on that. Gaurav, to begin with, this is a new approach that's being considered by India and China to mend ties. What are the reactions that you've been getting in from Beijing on how this will solidify and bolster ties between India and China?
You have to see that the damage which was done to the India-China ties by Doklam. Both the countries have been trying to put in a lot of efforts to repair the damage, and it actually started happening after both Chinese President Xi Jinping and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met in Xiamen summit. You have seen there has been both the sides have stepped up bilateral exchanges, mutual talk, bilateral exchanges, and if you see high-level visits by top politicians and top diplomats from both the countries. So yes, there is a sense that there is a kind of a camaraderie or bonhomie between both the countries, and they see each other as a kind of a natural partner now. Because if you see, day before yesterday, Chinese Foreign Ministry said that India and China can be a natural partner in fact in developing or for the development of Nepal. So you have to see both the countries have been trying to repair damage, and in fact tomorrow Sushma Swaraj is going to visit Beijing, and she is going to take part in SCO meeting, that is SCO Foreign Ministers meeting. So yeah, it's an important thing, and both the countries are making efforts to come close to each other and have a kind of a close cooperation in Asia.
Absolutely, but given the twists and turns that the relations between the two countries have seen, Gaurav, to say the least, there have been several ups and downs in the ties between the two countries. How much of an impact will this new approach really have?
You can make that out in diplomacy. Statements do matter, and if you see that China and India both have been, trying to, not put off or maybe tick off each other. And if you see, they have been making very positive statements. You know, there are sticking points between India and China, like CPEC and China's opposition to India's entry into the nuclear suppliers group, and they are also objecting to India's application at the UN to have Masood Azhar declared as international terrorist. However, if you see, for the past 3-4 months, there has been a kind of an approach, and both the countries actually have realized that they need to come and sit on the table and talk together and sort out their differences. And there will be issues, if you see the border issue is there, it's going to be there. But they know that that the border issue, we will resolve it. We have a mechanism there, the border mechanism. But there are other issues, so both the countries should not let other issues or sticking points affect other issues. You have education, you have in fact mutual exchanges, cultural exchanges. If you see, there was a 5th China Strategic Economic Dialogue which happened last year, and the Vice Chairman of Planning Commission said that we want to increase 5 working groups on India China to the groups of 5 joint economic groups to 7. So they want to include the joint working group on culture and as well as films. They want, because they really want, the Vice Chairman said that they want more and more Chinese people to be exposed to Indian culture in terms of movie, cinema and education.
Right. All right, that's a multifaceted approach that's being considered now to mend ties between the two countries. We're going to leave it there for the moment, Gaurav Sharma. Appreciate you joining us. Because the Indian defense and foreign ministers will be in China next week ahead of the summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in June. Bilateral differences will be discussed, also areas where the two sides can build on their relationship. And this could include resuming military exercises as well. WION Siddhant Sibal getting you more in this report.
China and India are stepping up their re-engagement. Two Indian ministers, Sushma Swaraj and Nirmala Sitharaman, will be in Beijing around the same time next week for talks with their Chinese counterparts, Foreign Minister Wang Yi and the newly appointed Defence Minister Wei Fenghe. While both the visits will lay ground for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in June, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi will take part in, there are bilateral issues to address. Swaraj is expected to convey India's concern over the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor or CPEC. Also, China continuing to block India's entry into the nuclear suppliers group. Swaraj will raise China's defense of Jaish terrorist Masood Azhar at the United Nations. China's foreign minister may seek to reassure India on the CPEC. He is expected to ask that India review its position to the Belt and Road Initiative. He may even make a strong case for a highway linking China, India and Nepal. The meeting of the two defense ministers promises to be interesting. China has promised resumption of bilateral military exercises that were not held last year owing to the Doklam standoff. India, China and Pakistan are also expected as SCO members to hold a joint military drill for the first time in Russia in June. The door for India's National Defence College will be open to Chinese military officers. Indian military officers will attend China's National Defence University in Beijing. India also wants a hotline linking the military operations directorates in Delhi and Beijing. These issues are expected to be fleshed out when Sitharaman and General Y meet next Tuesday in Beijing. Nobody expects a resolution of all the differences that underline India-China relationship, but both the sides understand the need to move out of the Doklam shadow and build on commonalities and restore confidence in each other. With video journalist Ankit, Siddhant Sibal, WION, New Delhi.
North and South Korea have opened a hotline between their leaders. The opening of the connection comes a week before North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in are due to hold a summit. The two leaders will be meeting in the demilitarized zone that divides the peninsula. The meeting is slated for April 27th. The venue of the summit is the Peace House located in the DMZ area. The site separates the two Korean nations. South Korea's presidential office said a successful test call was conducted on the hotline between Seoul's presidential Blue House and Pyongyang's powerful State Affairs Commission. South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un plan to make their first telephonic conversation sometime before their face-to-face meeting scheduled for next Friday. South Korean officials say the hotline, which will also be maintained after the summit, will help facilitate dialogue and reduce misunderstanding during times of tension. Let's go straight across now to our correspondent Aisha Sindhu, who's joining us from the newsroom for more on this. Aisha, clearly the talks have gathered momentum. A hotline, the first ever that's been established now between the two Koreas. We do also expect the South Korean president and the North Korean leader to also have a telephonic conversation before they.
Too good to be true, right, Molly? I mean, the amount of tension that's been brewing on the Korean Peninsula ever since President Trump has taken charge of the White House, it never seemed like things would come to a pass as they have, and for things to develop so rapidly. But it seems as of now that it's only good news coming out of the Korean Peninsula. In fact, just yesterday, South Korea said that even that word which was almost a no-no when it comes to North Korea, that's denuclearization, that actually has become sort of the buzzword as far as this tripartite conversation, if you will, is taking place even as we speak. So yes, definitely things are developing at a rapid pace, and so far it seems like it's so good.
Absolutely, and what's even better is that both the countries have maintained that the hotline will continue to exist even after the talks. So this is, of course, a huge step in the positive direction. We're going to leave it there for the moment. Aisha, thanks very much for joining us with those details. A day after Queen Elizabeth II bagged her son for the post, Prince Charles has now been approved as the next head of the Commonwealth nations grouping. He takes over from the Queen, who is 91 and wants someone younger to take over from her. Leaders of 46 of the Commonwealth's 53 countries attending the summit in London approved Prince Charles as the group's leader today. Let's go straight across now to our London Bureau Chief, Mandy Clark, who's joining us for more on this. Mandy, when we spoke last, just a few hours ago, we were talking about how unusual the remark that came in from the Queen was, where she was suggesting that Prince Charles takes over from her as the head of the Commonwealth nations grouping. And now it's official. The declaration has been made. He has taken over the baton from the Queen.
Yes, it was a remarkable statement because the Queen is known for her diplomacy, never really getting involved in politics. So for her to make a very clear statement about who she wants to take over was quite surprising. It wasn't a hereditary role. It wasn't naturally going to go to her next heir. So it was really up to the heads of government of the Commonwealth nations to decide who would take over. Now, it could have been anyone, but of course it would be difficult for them all to reach consensus. Clearly, they took in mind what the Queens wanted, and they decided to go and have Prince Charles take over. So history and tradition has been the call of the day today.
Indeed. We're going to leave it there for the moment. Mandy Clark summarizing the day's very crucial development there. Prince Charles has officially taken over as the head of the Commonwealth nations grouping. Supreme Court of India has said it is unfortunate that a public discussion is on about an impeachment motion against India's top judge Deepak Mishra. India's apex court has said it is disturbed with the recent events surrounding the impeachment of the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra. The Supreme Court has asked the Attorney General of India, K.K. Venugopal, in fact, to assist it on the matter and to see if the parliamentarians can be restrained. This follows a key meeting called by India's opposition parties in Delhi to take a final decision on moving an impeachment motion against the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra. 71 lawmakers of the upper house of parliament belonging to as many as 7 political parties have signed the notice for impeachment proceedings against the Chief Justice in the meeting. However, former Prime Minister and senior leader of the Congress party, Manmohan Singh, has not signed that notice. Congress leader Kapil Sibal said the party did not involve him in the process because of his stature as a former Prime Minister. Congress and other parties met Vice President and Upper House Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and gave the notice for impeachment of the Chief Justice of India. Senior Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad hit out at the current government and the Chief Justice. Take a listen in.
So we have moved a motion for impeachment for the removal of Chief Justice of India under 5 listed grounds of misbehavior. We have sought his removal under Article 217, read with Article 124, bracket 4 of the Constitution of India.
In the framework of our constitutional fabric, the judiciary holds a very special place. Its independence is a constitutional imperative without which democracy will flounder. It must guard and protect itself from external interference and must be above suspicion. This is why judges must uphold the highest standards of integrity. They must also be tested by the same standards. In the scheme of things, within the judicial setup, the office of the Chief Justice is an exalted position. He is one among equals on the judicial side, but has vast powers on the administrative side.
Opposition parties are unhappy with the Supreme Court's decision that rejected a special investigation probe into former CBI Judge Loya's death. Remember, earlier in January this year, 4 of India's senior-most judges held an unprecedented press conference where they raised many issues questioning the daily operation and functioning of the Supreme Court under Chief Justice Deepak Mishra. Let's go straight across now to our correspondent, Jessica Taneja, who's been tracking the story very closely. It's unprecedented, Jessica, to say the least. It's the first time that an Indian Chief Justice has an impeachment motion being moved against him. Break down for our viewers, what is the possibility that this impeachment motion will actually make it through?
Well, Molly, it's unlikely that this impeachment motion will actually make it through, because if you see the procedure, as easy it may look according to the Judges Act of 1968, but it isn't. Even the procedure would be a 5-step procedure, but to follow that 5-step procedure, it hasn't happened in the history of this country. No judge has ever been impeached. Of course, impeachment motions have been made against 3 judges in the past, but for the first time in the history of this country, that a sitting CJI is going to face an impeachment motion, or possibly have moved an impeachment motion by the opposition parties in the parliament. But to break it down for our viewers, it is almost impossible, because the way the law is constructed around this particular Article 124, which also the senior Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad was talking about, it's not really easy to impeach or to dethrone or remove any judge of the High Court and the Supreme Court. So it's highly unlikely, but according to the Congress sources that I've spoken to, this was merely done looking at how the judiciary was functioning at this point in time. You saw the 4 judges who had come out, and they seem to think that it's time the CJI must be kept in some checks and balances.
All right. We're going to leave it there for the moment, Jessica, but we will keep tracking the developments on this front very closely. As Jessica was just pointing out, this is a long-drawn process when it comes to impeaching Chief Justice of India, but at the same time, a crucial one, a crucial development where the political parties have been up in arms against the Chief Justice of India.